morning and good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to our speakers today, Thomas from Spinworks and Mr. Shannon Henriksen, the manager of the Multimedia Systems, Exhibitions and Audience Experiences from Museums Victoria. It is very exciting to have you both today here. We are here today to talk about Infotainment Revolution series, which is one of the 4-part series. Talking about crafting engaging experiences that captivate audiences. So I would now pass on to Thomas, who will be doing the interview.
Thank you, Josephine. Hi, Shannon. Thank you for joining me today. Maybe we could start off with a little bit about, maybe you could give us a brief about Museums Victoria. What's your objectives, the mission for Museums Victoria?
So Museums Victoria is the largest museum in Australia. We are the custodians of the Victorian State Collection. We've got millions of objects. We are based in Melbourne. We have 3 campuses, which is the Immigration Museum, Science Works and Melbourne Museum. But we are also in charge of the Royal Exhibition buildings, and we have a couple of annexes where we store our collections. Our mission statement is to create knowledge and experiences that help us make sense of the world. We exchange stories about culture, history and science and fearlessly discuss the big questions of life. We collect traces of time and place that allow us to connect to the past, present and future. We make captivating physical and virtual spaces that open minds and hearts. So that's the mission statement word for word. I guess my team is heavily involved in that captivating physical and virtual spaces.
Great. It seems really perfect that you're joining us today, because I noticed that in your appointment, audience experiences, and that's what we are really talking about with infotainment actually. So let me start off with this. The museum experience, I feel, is changing to cater to visitors, especially a younger generation, with all the digital influence that they have. So in relation to this, what has been some of the observations from Museums Victoria in this aspect?
Okay, so from a personal point of view, I've been with the organisation for about 23 years, and it's coming up to 23. And I've noticed a shift from a lot of those physical interactives. It was very tactile, push this, pull that, turn this, turn that. It's outcome driven, really physical interactivity. And I've seen a shift across for our audiences to be really immersed in a lot of the content. We still have a bunch of that interactivity, but it's quite often generating a digital outcome. So yeah, there's a whole different way of approaching things. We can do a whole lot more deeper engagement with objects and with our collection. We can only have some objects on display for a short amount of time. So we've got an evergreen access, if you like, to our collection objects through digital platforms, both in gallery and online.
Great. Well, like you say, it's outcome driven, but I suppose now the digital aspects play a big role in that outcome, right?
Yeah.
So how do you balance these audiovisual technologies with the traditional methods to sort of maintain the authenticity of the exhibits? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Museums Victoria is quite a big org, as I said before. We've got so many specialists there. We've got wonderful experience creation people who are there dreamifying and making sure that we represent the object. Our artifacts and our objects are always the hero and at the core of what we do. We've got a representation of many communities and cultures, and it's through these professionals and people who really understand the subject matter that give us the lead thread to pull. So our systems should always be focusing on the object or the story first, and then using the technology to augment and enhance, and like I said before, to access a little deeper. Yeah, I think we've we've got a good future around different sensory experiences too. You know, we might be getting in there and using haptic technology or smell and things like this, but we've always got to consider those objects and you know, work closely with our collections and conservation staff to make sure we're doing the right thing by light levels and other materials around them.
I believe it's really about sort of a balance, isn't it? Because the key objective is to ensure the message or the, like you said, outcomes that you want to achieve are achieved, whether it's with AV technology or has in a traditional way of displaying. But now with this ability, I assume, of using these audiovisual technologies, it sort of enhances the experience for everyone. And it's, I suppose you and your team are really looking to how to balance that, isn't it? To ensure that it's not overridden too much, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've got to be considerate. There is definitely a time and a place for just a single object on a plinth under a beautifully mounted light. You know, we are a museum, but these digital environments are quite amazing because they're versatile. It means that we can change this canvas any day of the week. You know, we've got beautiful spaces at the museum where if somebody comes up to me and says, we want to tell a bit of a different story, we've just found out that the Triceratops actually had 5 legs. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Please. Nobody put that on camera. But you know, it's we can change these canvases just to any given day. As we get new information from our scientists upstairs, we can make changes to these beautiful pieces of hardware that are sitting there and playing back the content that our design teams and animators are creating for us.
Superb. Is there any chance you could share with us any recent deployment of infotainment equipment being used at your museum, and what was the outcome at the end? I mean, in terms of the experience.
Okay, so looking to the Barco product specifically, because that's where this conversation is coming from, I thought I might do a quite an old example and quite a new example. So the new example is our learning lab downstairs at Melbourne Museum. It's an immersive projection studio with a 14-channel audio system, but we've used the Barco E2 there because it's a versatile education space. So at any given time, we might have classrooms in there sharing their work on the wall, picture in picture, or we might have the placeholder landing space in there, which is the showcase mode, which is beautifully curated stories with our by our Yulenge, which is our First Nations consultation group that worked with Museums Victoria to create this beautiful story called River Connections. So we'll play that, and then we've got MV stories that play in there, lots of scientists and public programs and educators talking about various topics. We've even got a mode in there that is a mindfulness session that's sitting in the Otways. So it's an immersive area sitting inside an immersive projection for showcase mode, or we can be sharing the space together to show what our classwork is. We've launched products in there. And the big linchpin, the big cog in the machine that's sitting there is that Barco E2. It means that we can instantly swap and change and do the picture-in-picture products. So it's been really fantastic to have that single point in there that's doing all the really hard work for our learning lab. And one of the older installations I wanted to talk about was we have an area called RV, and it's a circular projection space. It's it has been around for quite a while, but it's a real hero of the museum. So it's a cylindrical projection space telling stories of the Earth's formation. It's very science-based. We have some Barco F22 projectors in there, and I checked the lamp hours yesterday, or the actual runtime hours, sorry. The runtime hours of the longest serving member of that cluster of 12 is 27,000 hours. So I guess it says a lot about the product products manufacture, and what a great product they are. So yeah, that's 2 examples of Barco technology used at Museums Victoria.
So just for clarity, the circular space that you're talking about, so that's open to the public.
Correct.
It's a regular, pretty much 27,000 hours, and it's still showing
still doing the job. Yeah, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, 363 days a year.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
So is there anything in the future that you think, or that you think that such technologies will be used, or is this now really like a part and parcel for Museums of Victoria to look at the AV technologies being part of the overall experience?
I think there's an assumption with everything we do, we will be incorporating that deeper layer of digital technology and integration. It seems that every single exhibition is going to have an element of multimedia. So it's been a long time since I've seen a pots and pans exhibition come in with a bunch of showcases. Everyone seems to have a bit of a deeper narrative, be it with a touch screen, you know, some sort of flipping book, to full scale projection mapping, deep narrative, interactive, you know, blob tracking and camera tracking technology. Everything seems to have at least just a sprinkling of digital in there.
Superb. Thank you so much, Shannon, for joining me today and for sharing your insights.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all too for watching this video.